Hey, Tookster. Hi. Should we show everyone the bookcases? The bookshelves? Do you want to show them? Yes? Okay, let's go over and do that. All right. I'm going to walk over to the shelves, which are on either side of the fireplace. I think all of you have seen that already. This is really where we've got these essentially 3 shelves each. So right now, this is what this looks like. Shelf number 1 on the left. I think I'm going to keep the black penguins together. The ones on the left are like some of those ones that have the red tops to them. And then this one, oh, you know what? I keep saying I'm reading Framley Parsonage, but I'm not. I'm not reading Framley Parsonage right now. What am I reading? Dr. Thorne. Oh, my God. Anyway. So there are some books in here that I'm going to donate. Most of these books are older books. They're not like contemporary literature, but I think I'm going to do something about that system, other than there's a couple New York review of books that I have here that I like to keep together. So coming over here, books that need shelved from that library sale, and then the Yanagihara that I bought because I didn't own it and I definitely want to reread it, and I saw her on at a speaking engagement. So this bottom row, and mostly some of the top, tend to be older books, except there is contemporary fiction like the Donna Tartt's and A Little Life. And then I try to keep the orange penguins together, but there's a few books on both of these shelves and the others that I know I can donate, that I picked up at Goodwill and that I know I'm never going to read. And I know that now. So, and then this top shelf is just miscellany books that I have as, living room books, except for the very top. Oh, I love this Falling Water book. Oh, this is just a beautiful living room book. This is a book that I'll show you later of gargoyles that I got when we were at Notre Dame. And then this is a little book from my, I guess it would be great-grandmother that we found. And then this is a framed wedding invitation. That was our wedding invitation that we had designed from Etsy. Okay, that's what these things look like now, and then I'll be back. Hi, I'm back. Okay, I've gone through both sides of the shelves. Here's what I've come up with. The things that I'm going to donate. The books I'm going to donate, I should say. I've had this Georgette Hare for a long time, and I dipped into it. I might have read quite a lot of it, but it just wasn't my taste. So that can go. And then I've got this Richard Yates 11 Kinds of Loneliness. It's a short story collection that I have read, and it was short stories I have some luck with and not, because there's always stories that I like and then other stories that I don't, and that's a little bit of my frustration. I picked this up somewhere, I think it was at the thrift store. So it was one of those $1.29 deals for me, and then maybe even 25% off of that, because that's what it is at Goodwill on Mondays for people over 55. And I'm just not going to read A Wodehouse. I just know it. It's going to be for somebody else. I read Tender as the Night and F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. Last year, I loved both of these. Highly recommend. But since I'm just being very choosy about the books that I'm keeping, I don't think there's a reason for me to keep these. I'm not in love with them or the author. It'll be fantastic for someone to discover. And I've got this autobiography, The Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas by Gertrude Stein. So it's a play on words because it says it's an autobiography. But, and I've read this. I am not sure why I'm keeping it. But Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas, I really like her writing, and their relationship was obviously before its time for it to be so public in their circles, I guess, in the 1920s. And they just lived fascinating lives. This was probably before BookTube days, but I really enjoyed Gwendolyn Riley's My Phantoms. I am keeping all the rest of my New York Review of Books books because I just love the way they look. This one is a little different than the others. It's a different size, and I don't need to keep this book. I highly recommend it. It's one of those ones where you're reading it, and it was very hyped last year, and you're reading it, and I felt like it really unfolded even more after I read it, and it just kept sinking in. I just think she's a brilliant writer. Really sneaky, she's very complex, but you're not getting all the complexity until later. At least that's me. And then this is another one of those Goodwill books, Savage Beauty, $1.29 minus 25 cents, that I just have never gotten to, and look how much space it's taking up. So I am fine with letting it go. Okay, let's see, what else? What else I got? Margaret Kennedy, My Constant Nymph. Can I tell you how much I love this book? Dig into this book. You don't need to dig in, you just need to read it. It was just this undiscovered masterpiece. She would give herself to pain with a passionate readiness, seeing only its beauty with the singleness of vision, which that doesn't even make any sense. No, I don't like that description. Teresa is the daughter of a brilliant bohemian composer, Albert Sanger, who, with his circus of precocious children, slovenly mistress and assorted hangers-on, lives in a rambling chalet high in the Austrian Alps. All right, that's a better description. So there's a main character, and she comes from this bohemian family, and there's a story about a man who she meets as she's a child, and then she gets a little older. And in these early novels, this was written in 1924, yeah, you're going to have some young women who are of marrying age. That's way before today. So if you can deal with that, and I really felt like it didn't feel too icky to me. It was just so beautifully written, and I don't know, I love the whole atmosphere. All right, that one I'm on the fence about. A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. This is a play. It's also a movie, as most of you know, and I just loved reading the play. I really like reading plays every once in a while, maybe once or twice a year, probably once a year. And I've already read this one. I did get it from Goodwill. Here's another Goodwill book. Marjorie Kernan's The Ballad of West 10th Street. I don't remember what this is about, but I haven't picked it up, so I will clear it out. 365 Ways to Have a Good Day. This sounds like a good book, doesn't it? Handy, little bedside daily book. I bought this for a Christmas present for my daughter, who's 32. And then I realized it wasn't really her kind of book, so I showed it to her and we said, yeah. So this will go to a lucky person. Agatha Christie, The Seven Dials Mystery. My mother will not like it, but I am giving this one up because I will never get to it. There's only one Agatha Christie that I will reread, which I don't know the name of, but it's over there on the shelf because I kept it. I'm not going to donate. That one can go. I'm not really into reading Agatha Christie now, although I did pick this up because it was just cheap somewhere. And I just love this color red. And I just love this cover. But the two people in it, I don't love. So when I was younger, as a young teenager, I read all of Hercule Poirot and some Miss Marple. But it's Tommy and Tuppence Beresford, and I didn't really like it. It's for somebody else. And this book was a recommendation while I was listening to the Bookcast Club podcast, and they were interviewing Chris from Chris's Cauldron of Books. And he's a big fantasy reader and all other genres, but he is a fantasy lover. And this was one of his all-time favorite books when they were kind of interviewing him. And then I saw it at the thrift store and I picked it up, but I will never read this, as it turns out. I tried, and I am like the biggest fan of The Wizard of Oz, but I won't ever read this, so I don't need to keep a hold of it. Look how large this book is. The Heart's Invisible Furies, John Boyne. This could have been easily, or no, I think it was one of my favorite 10 favorites of 2022, unless I read it in January and I haven't talked about it yet. But I don't need to keep it. It was an amazing reading experience, and I thought this book was written a long time ago, but it was only written in the 2000s, if I'm not going out of my mind. Yeah, 2017. I love his writing, but a beast of a hardback, so I am ready to let it go. I will never reread it. And I have his other one here that I picked up when I was in the Keys at a Key West bookstore. Don't you love to do that? Pick up something when you're on vacation? If you run into a bookstore and the whole thing just makes sense. This was a used bookstore, and this is called A Ladder to the Sky. So I will get to that. I feel like this is a book I want to read like in January. If I read this one in January, it just feels like something that I'll dig into. So that's what I have unhauled from my shelves in the first round. Now, I have a feeling there's other bookshelves that I'm going to pull things from, but as far as these shelves go, I know you can't see the other side, but I've opened up some space. The one thing I wanted to show you, I meant to get down before I started filming, but I just wanted to show you these. These are childhood books. This one sadly doesn't have the cover on it anymore, but it was one of these. It's Walt Disney's America, and it had red, yellow, blue, green. My sister might have the other two. And inside, one of them might be this one. No, it might be the one my sister has. I have pencil markings on this. Why would I have scratched it with pencil? But they were given to us by our grandma, my dad's mom, in like 1971. And oh my gosh, how much we love these books. So obviously I will keep them forever. And you know, even if my sister didn't have the other two, I've seen these on eBay, but I don't need to own them, because the whole reason I own these is because they're the original ones that I was given. So that's why I hang on to them. I don't need the others. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks for coming along with me. on this bookshelf unhaul. Now I'm going to reorganize. Okay, so thanks for sticking in there with me to go over this unhauling process. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too hard. And now I'm going to reorganize, and we'll see if I end up sticking it in this video or not. It just depends on how long it takes. Okay, we are back. We are back after reorganizing shelves. This is the next day. It's Friday. I'm off today, and I just thought I'd show you my shelves. I don't know if it makes sense to turn the camera around so you can take a closer look, but probably not. I am going to show you the other side separately, but what I ended up doing here, my goal was to make this lower shelf all classics, and that's what I did. So, except for just a couple exceptions, I kept all my NYRB books together, and then I kept the penguins there. So yeah, I kept all of these books on the top that you can't see just the same, because these represent books that are important to me for one reason or another. So I'm just keeping them separate there. And I'll see you on the other side. And here's the other side. So my goal here was to put all contemporary fiction on this lower shelf as much as I could, and then to put older fiction on top. There's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, I think I was able to keep it that way. And as far as personalizing it, I don't have really very many personal touches on, oh, that's Suki scratching. On these shelves, I'll probably add a little later. I don't have a lot of places to put personalized stuff, but I am going to eventually do that, except for that wedding invitation on the top shelf that that I already talked about. So yeah, not a whole lot to grow, other than I think I will eventually do something with the black penguins, like push them over to the side so I can add new books. But I so slowly grow my library. It's very intentional. I keep calling books. I only want to keep books that I either haven't read or that that I'm keeping for a purpose. Like I just like to have, I like to keep Anita, the Anita Bruckners that I read and stuff like that. Or, you know, if I pick up a book from a special trip, sometimes I keep that book just because it reminds me of the trip. But thanks for joining me on this unhaul and bookshelf reorg video. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.